There was a night. A specific night, one that those close to the situation describe with a consistency and a gravity that tells you before they say anything else that what happened in those hours was different from everything that had come before, different from the portrait, different from the confrontation, different from the ultimatum, because all of those, as decisive as they were moves, strategic, deliberate, part of a sequence that William had been building for years. This night was not a move. This night was the end of moves. Sources describe William arriving at a decision not in anger, not in haste, not in the reactive, emotional rush of someone who has been pushed past their limit, but in the cold, clear, entirely calm recognition of a man who has run out of reasons to wait. He went to Camilla one final time, not to negotiate, not to confront, not to issue another ultimatum with terms and conditions, and the implicit offer of a managed exit, to warn, simply, directly, with the particular weight of someone who means every word and knows the person hearing them understands exactly what is coming. This is the night William gave Camilla one final warning before he took everything. To understand why this night was different, you have to understand what had happened in the weeks before it, the final move that backfired, the sympathy campaign that generated the opposite of sympathy and handed William a paper trail he had not previously possessed, the archival attempt, the request to amend Diana's records that had not only failed, but shown William exactly where the most significant documentation resided. The answer to his ultimatum, not the graceful exit he had offered, the defiant "I cannot walk away. I have given my whole life to this" decision to stay and face whatever came. Each one of these, in the weeks and months leading to this night, had told William something, not new information exactly, but confirmation that the path he had been walking, the patient, strategic, long-game path of a man who believed that the right pressure applied in the right way over the right time would eventually produce movement, had reached its end. Camilla was not going to move, not of her own accord, not through the accumulated pressure of everything he had done, not through the offer of a managed exit, or the threat of what he held. She was going to hold her position until the position was taken from her, and William, who had been building toward this understanding for months, arrived on this specific night at the place where understanding becomes decision. The meeting was not announced, not through the usual channels that William uses when the communication needs to carry institutional weight, not through intermediaries, not through the trusted network of advisors and palace insiders who have been the route for so much of what has been passed between them. Direct. William requested to see Camilla in person that evening. Sources describe the request as carrying, even in its brevity, a quality that those who received it understood immediately. This was not social. This was not a family dinner, or a ceremonial occasion, or the kind of managed co-presence that royal protocol sometimes requires. This was William needing to say something to Camilla directly, without witnesses, without record, without the managed, careful, institution-protecting apparatus that surrounds every significant royal communication. Just the two of them, and what he had come to say. Camilla accepted. Those close to her described her understanding even before the meeting that this was significant, that the fact of William requesting a direct, private, unmediated conversation was itself the warning. Before the warning, sources are careful about the specific, the content of what William said that night, not because they don't know, but because some of what was spoken remains and should remain between the two people in that room. What they will say, and what paints a clear enough picture, is the nature of it. William told Camilla what was going to happen, not conditionally, not in the "if you don't" language of an ultimatum. As fact, the title, it would not survive Charles. William had already ensured that the decisions around her title, in the period following Charles's death, would reflect his intentions and not hers. The residences, the infrastructure, the staff and the security and the access to the machinery of royal life that Charles had built around her, all of it governed, after Charles, by William, and William had made his decisions. The record, Diana's record, the attempt to amend it had failed. The documents were secured. Their contents in time, in the manner and at the moment, William chose minus would be known. He told her this without drama, without satisfaction, without the kind of visible emotion that would have suggested this was about revenge, with the particular, devastating, impossible to argue with quality of someone presenting facts, not a future that might happen, a future that had been prepared. And then minus the warning itself. Sources describe it as the most direct thing William has ever said to Camilla, that whatever she chose to do, in the time remaining to her, as Queen took, whatever move she made, whatever channels she used, whatever attempt she made, to shape what came after, he would be watching, and every move she made, that he deemed contrary to Diana's legacy, to the monarchy's future, to the specific vision of the institution he was building would be documented, added to the record, and used when he judged the moment right. She could spend the rest of Charles' reign making his work harder, or she could spend it making peace with what was coming. The choice, for the last time, was hers. Sources describe what happened in the room after William finished as one of the most significant silences in the recent history of the royal family. Camilla did not speak immediately. Those who know her say that in the most charged moments, the moments that others might fill with the sound of their own reaction, Camilla goes still. It is her greatest skill and her most revealing quality, the stillness that manages what the face cannot be trusted to keep contained. When she spoke, she did not capitulate. Camilla is not built for capitulation. 30 years of fighting for a position that the world said she could not have do not produce a person who surrenders easily. She did not rage either. What sources describe is something more complex than either of those, a woman at the end of a very long road, who understood in the way that people understand things. When someone who has prepared for years sits across from you and speaks without theater, that the road was ending, not tonight, not immediately, not in the dramatic announced, press release managed way of an official departure, but ending, she told William, in the careful, measured, everything I say will be remembered way of someone speaking in a room where she knows she is being assessed, that she had no intention of making his work harder. She did not say she would leave. She did not agree to any terms. She did not acknowledge what he held, or confirm what she knew about the records, but she told him she was not his enemy. Whether she meant it is a question that those present have debated ever since the period following that night. In the palace internal atmosphere, in the specific, observable ways that those who move through these spaces can read the temperature of things, was different, not resolved, not peaceful, not the managed, photographed, publicly presented unity that the institution's communications team would have preferred, but different. Camilla's moves became fewer. The reaching through intermediaries, the press placements, the careful positioning, quieted, not entirely, not permanently, not in the way of someone who has accepted a conclusion and is adjusting to it, but noticeably, in the way of someone who is recalculating, who is sat across from someone who knows what they know and has had to update their understanding of what is possible. William's moves, in the same period, continued with the same patient, systematic, nothing left to chance quality that has always defined them, but with a different quality of certainty behind them, the certainty of a man who has said what needed saying, who has given every opportunity that his conscience required him to give, and who is now simply proceeding. There is a version of this story that makes William the villain, a powerful man using his position to intimidate an aging woman, a son extending a family dispute beyond what any reasonable person would sustain, but a future king weaponizing his institutional power against someone who has already suffered decades of public hatred. I understand that version. I want to acknowledge it, because Northwire has always tried, in every episode, across 41 scripts, to tell the full truth, rather than the convenient truth, and the full truth includes this. William is not without power in this story. He has more of it than Camilla, and he is using it, but here is the other full truth. Diana had no power. When the palace stripped her title, reduced her security, managed her narrative, denied her support, she had no son watching, no future king prepared, no documented case that could be used. To hold the institution to account, she had letters, and courage, and the love of the public. And it was not enough. William has made sure that what his mother built, the record, the truth, the documentation of what was done, does not suffer the same fate. That is not villainy. That is love, the kind that arrives late, in the next generation, in the form of a son, who sat across from the woman, at the center of his mother's pain, and told her calmly, with all the power he had built, that the accounting was coming. Diana raised him for this night. Drop a comment. Do you think Camilla believed him? When she said she wasn't his enemy. New video tomorrow. Same time.